In this video, I'm going to discuss my own build for a retro video game system, the materials I used, and a little bit of what it can do. On the right, we have the inspiration for that unit, which is Nintendo's own NES Classic. The scarcity and rarity of this unit throughout the 2016 holiday season is a lot of the inspiration for what led me to make my own system. From a nostalgia standpoint, Nintendo hit everything on the head. The system feels, looks, and behaves much like you remember an old NES system doing. The plastic feels right, the power and reset buttons feel exact, and the games that are on it, albeit only 30 of them, all play exceptional. For my unit, I modified it in a way by adding wireless. These are wireless Bluetooth pads with the receivers plugged into the NES Classic. These are from a company called 8-Bit Do. What's nice about them is they look and feel exactly like NES controllers. They have additional face buttons and trigger buttons added so that you can use them to play Super NES games with the required Bluetooth adapters. For my own build, we have over here a system built in a Legend of Zelda Yahtzee case. This case is the cup that you would use to play Legend of Zelda Yahtzee with in the collector's set that you can get from a store like Amazon. Inside the unit, or inside the case, is a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. It is the most recent, to my knowledge, iteration of Raspberry Pi. Nice thing about it is it has built-in Wi-Fi and built-in Bluetooth. For Bluetooth controllers, I added, again, another unit from 8-Bit Do in the same style as the other ones. This one has the rounded edges and two analog thumbsticks similar to a PlayStation controller. On the top of the unit, they've nicely molded in L1 and L2, R1 and R2 buttons. The thumbsticks even have the L2 and R3 buttons under the analog sticks themselves. So real nice pad, real good feel to it, has that D-pad feel that you come to expect from a Nintendo style controller. Now on the treasure chest case, I did notch out the USB ports on the side to accommodate USB accessories. We've got a can of Coke here because I get thirsty while making videos. Yeah, that's much better. And then on the back, you can see through the back here, the power LED on the Raspberry Pi motherboard is lit, indicating the unit is on. Notched out on the back are USB power, HDMI, and a separate audio output jack if you want to use something other than HDMI audio. To match the aesthetic of the treasure chest, I used a wired GameCube fight pad, or a Wii fight pad as it would be. It is styled in the way of a GameCube controller. They sell these for all different characters. I believe they did it for Super Smash Bros. It looks and feels like a GameCube controller, which, as many people will tell you, is a much better way of playing Smash Brothers than using the Wii Remote or one of the other Wii U or Wii Classic controllers. So it's styled to match the aesthetic. I think it does a pretty good job. Another build I did for my friend was a DK drum for the case, again a Yahtzee set, and then a DK Wii controller. Again, they do sell these for pretty much every major Nintendo Smash Brothers character. GameStop had them for a while, but as with many things, they're available on Amazon. Obviously, this does not have a USB connector. It connects using a Wii U or Wii Remote style connector, which ironically is what's also on the NES Classic. For that to convert the signal, I purchased a Wii Classic controller adapter for USB. It converts two Classic controller connectors into a USB signal, which then goes to the unit itself. Now, in terms of what the unit can do, it is running emulation. For Raspberry Pi, it runs an interface called RetroPie. What RetroPie will do is you can load ROMs to the unit. It has a very nice interface. It will detect what ROMs you have loaded to the system and then automatically populate options to play those systems. For example, the Nintendo Classic only has 30 games. Obviously, the sky's the limit with what you'll load onto the Raspberry Pi, but on this unit I have 133 NES games loaded. I've got 48 Nintendo 64 games loaded. Obviously, the system is capable of emulating things like PlayStation, of which I've got 26. Reason being, PlayStation games take up an absolutely massive amount of storage. They're usually about 700 to 800 megs per disc. For multi-disc games like Metal Gear Solid, you're looking at over 1.5 gigs of storage just to keep those games on the unit. Super Nintendo, 93 games, so on and so forth. I'm not going to number off each one of them for you, but obviously they're all there. Another nice thing about RetroPie is that there's an option to do what's called scrape. Scraping will bring up images and descriptions and save them to the SD card inside, so that as you go down the line you can see the game you're about to play. It's a brief description. It's a very, very professional, very nice looking setup. Once you're in System Menu, you can scroll to the left or right and view the inventory for each one. Genesis was called Mega Drive in Europe and Japan, everywhere else pretty much but here, which is why it's called Mega Drive here. Nintendo 64 is easily the most difficult system to emulate, whether it's on Android or on a computer or even on this. It's just a lot more difficult to emulate it because of the hardware, I imagine. A good number of games for the system you'll have to kind of run through, but a lot of them won't boot or run very slow. GoldenEye runs very slow unless the settings are turned down, whereas Perfect Dark, for whatever reason, seems to run just fine with the settings turned up. All the big ones, the Legend of Zeldas, the Mario games, Donkey Kong 64, a lot of those games run perfectly fine. F-Zero runs fantastic on it. So a lot of the big guns on the system play very, very well. Wave Race plays very well. It's just a matter of finding ROMs that work really well. NES games play fantastic, look absolutely great on the system. Same with PlayStation games, largely play very well. Don't seem to have any issues with those whatsoever, which is nice. And then you can go in and change things like Bluetooth. You can change the Wi-Fi settings. This is just your main setup menu for RetroPie. For those that are pretty advanced with Linux or decent with command line commands, you can actually back out and go to a command line and make changes straight from the command line. So that is pretty much it. It's a really fantastic little unit. Obviously, it's one of those things where you can get sucked in and spend a lot of time exploring games from your childhood, or better yet, games that you probably never even had or just didn't have access to. I don't know about the rest of you, but even owning a Nintendo 64 into my teenage years, I'm pretty sure I didn't own 48 games at $69 a pop for that system, and I certainly never had 133 NES games. My methodology behind picking them was not only picking games that I knew or had liked back then, but also ones that were sort of agreed upon as being the best for each system, which is why I have some of the games on there that I do. Obviously, your own choices and own decisions on what games you're going to put on your unit will absolutely vary. So hopefully this provides a little bit of inspiration for you to build your own. Reach out to me in the comments or shoot me a message if you need any tips, or even if you want me to build you one. I'm certainly capable of doing that for you too. Thanks for watching.